Today is very auspicious day, Hera Panchami day, also known as Lakshmi Vijay. So here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this lila is described. I will not read the Bengali verses we already read when we were going through Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Mahaprabhu was doing his pastimes in Puri after Ratha Yatra. Then, knowing that the Hera Panchami festival was drawing near, King Prataparudra attentively talked with Kashi Mishra. Tomorrow will be the function of Hera Panchami or Lakshmi Vijay. Hold this festival in a way that it has never been held before. King Prataparudra said, hold this festival in such a gorgeous way that upon seeing it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be completely pleased and astonished. Take as many printed cloths, small bells, umbrellas and chamaras as there are in my storehouse and in the deity's storehouse. Collect all kinds of small and large flags and ringing bells. Then decorate the carrier and have various musical and dancing parties accompany it. In this way, decorate the carrier attractively. You should also double the quantity of prasadam. Make so much that it will even surpass the Ratha Yatra festival. Arrange the festival in such a way that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may freely go with all his devotees to visit the deity without difficulty. In the morning, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took his personal associates with him to see Lord Jagannath at Sundarachal. Sundarachal means Gundicha. That is Nilachal. This is Sundarachal. Nilachal means blue. That is opulence. And Sundar means Madhurja, sweetness. Sundarachal. Achal means mountain or hill. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal devotees returned to Nilachal with great eagerness to see the Hera Panchami festival. Kashi Mishra received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great respect, and taking the Lord and his associates to a very nice place, he had them seated. After taking his seat, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to hear about a particular mellow of devotional service. Therefore, mildly smiling, he began to question Swarup Damodar. Although Lord Jagannath enjoys his pastimes at Dwaraka Dham and naturally manifests sublime liberality there, still once a year he becomes unlimitedly eager to see Vrindavan. Pointing out the neighboring gardens, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, all these gardens exactly resemble Vrindavan. Therefore, Lord Jagannath is very eager to see them again. Externally, he gives the excuse that he wants to participate in the Ratha Yatra festival, like excursion and to rescue the fallen soul. That is external. But actually, he wants to leave Jagannath Puri to go to Sundarachal, the Gundicha temple, a replica of Vrindavan. The Lord enjoys his pastimes day and night in various flower gardens there. But why does he not take Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, with him? Swarup Damodar replied, my dear Lord, please hear the reason for this. Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, cannot be admitted to the pastimes of Vrindavan. In the pastimes of Vrindavan, the only assistants are the gopis. But for the gopis, no one can attract the mind of Krishna. The Lord said, using the car festival as an excuse, Krishna goes there with Subhadra and Baladev. All the pastimes with the gopis that take place in those gardens are very confidential ecstasies of Lord Krishna. No one knows them. Since there is no fault at all in Krishna's pastimes, why does the goddess of fortune become angry? Sarup Damodar replied, "It is the nature of a girl afflicted by love to become immediately angry upon finding any neglect on the part of her lover." While Sarup Damodar and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were talking, the procession of the goddess of fortune came by. She was riding upon a golden palanquin carried by 4 men and bedecked with a variety of jewels. The palanquin was also surrounded by people carrying umbrellas, chamara whisks, and flags, and it was preceded by musicians and dancing girls. The maidservants were carrying water pitchers, chamara whisks, and boxes for betel nuts. There were hundreds of maidservants, all attractively dressed and wearing valuable necklaces. In an angry mood, the goddess of fortune arrived at the main gate of the temple, accompanied by many members of her family, all of whom exhibited uncommon opulence. When the procession arrived, the maidservants of the goddess of fortune began to arrest all the principal servants of Lord Jagannath. The maidservants bound the servants of Jagannath, handcuffed them, and made them fall down at the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune. Indeed, they were arrested just like thieves who have all their riches taken away. Here, Srila Sai Maharaj writes, when Lord Jagannath starts his car festival, he gives assurance to the goddess of fortune that he will return the next day. When he does not return, the goddess of fortune, after waiting 2 or 3 days, begins to feel that her husband has neglected her. She naturally becomes quite angry. Gorgeously decorating herself and her associates, she comes out of the temple and stands before the main gate. All the principal servants of Lord Jagannath are then arrested by her maidservants, brought before her, and forced to fall down at her lotus feet. When the servants fell down before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, they almost fell unconscious. They were chastised and made the butt of jokes and loose language. They were speaking about them in that way. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates saw such impudence exhibited by the maidservants of the goddess of fortune, they covered their faces with their hands and began to smile. Sarup Damodar said, "There is no egoistic pride like this within the 3 worlds. At least I have never seen or heard of it, but this is transcendental egoistic pride. We should not mistake. These are transcendental emotions to please Krishna, like the gopis and Lakshmi, all this. It is for his satisfaction. It is not for our selfish material satisfaction. It is one kind of lila. When a woman is neglected and disappointed, out of egoistic pride, she gives up her ornaments and morosely sits down on the ground, marking lines on it with her nails. I have heard of this kind of pride in Satyabhama, Krishna's proudest queen, and I have also heard of it in the gopis of Vrindavan, who are the reservoirs of all transcendental mellows. That is their transcendental identity, ego, real self. It is for the satisfaction of Krishna. It is not, it is totally beyond gross and subtle bodies and that impersonal conception. It is personal, it is for the satisfaction of Krishna. They are doing everything transcendental. But in the case of the goddess of fortune, I see a different kind of pride. She manifests her own opulences and even goes with her soldiers to attack her husband. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Please tell me of the varieties of egoistic pride manifested in Vrindavan." This is transcendental identity of the gopis. It has nothing to do with material ego's identities. Sarva padavi nirmuktam. One has to be free of all worldly egos, gross and subtle. And he has to know that he belongs to Krishna. He's his eternal servant. Then he can serve him. So when here it is mentioned, egoistic pride, it is that transcendental emotion to satisfy Krishna. We should not mistake one with the other. Sarup Damodar replied, "The pride of the gopis is like a river flowing with hundreds of tributaries." So here we should with great caution hear these things. Should not mistake with any worldly man, woman. This is transcendental. Krishna is transcendental, they are transcendental. His internal potency, and they are serving him in varieties of ways. Serving him. Atmendriya priti vancha tare boli kam. Krishnendriya priti icha dhore prem nam. There is a gulf of difference between kama, worldly lust, which is selfish oriented. Ultimate target is to get self-satisfaction. But prema is when one wants to satisfy the desires of Krishna, transcendental desires, with his own transcendental desires. That is called prema. Outwardly it may look like similar, but it is not. The underlying substance is totally different. One is selfish, one is really for the satisfaction of Krishna. So with caution, we should hear, we should not misunderstand. The characteristics and modes of love are different in different women, means here gopis. Their jealous anger also takes on different varieties and qualities. It is not possible to give a complete statement about the different types of jealous anger manifested by the gopis, but a few principles may serve as an indication. There are three types of women, here means gopis, experiencing jealous anger. Sober woman, restless woman, and woman both restless and sober. When a sober heroine sees her hero approaching from a distance, she immediately stands up to receive him. When he comes near, she immediately offers him a place to sit. The sober heroine conceals her anger within her heart and externally speaks sweet words. When her lover embraces her, she returns his embrace. The sober heroine is very simple in her behavior. She keeps her jealous anger within her heart, but with mild words and smiles she rejects the advances of her lover. The restless heroine, however, sometimes chastises her lover with cruel words, sometimes pulls his hair, and sometimes binds him with a flower garland. The heroine, who is a combination of sobriety and restlessness, always jokes with equivocal words. She sometimes praises her lover, sometimes blasphemes him, and sometimes remains indifferent. Heroines may also be classified as captivated, intermediate, and impudent. The captivated heroine does not know very much about the cunning intricacies of jealous anger. The captivated heroine simply covers her face and goes on crying. When she hears sweet words from her lover, she is very satisfied. Both the intermediate and impudent heroines can be classified as sober, restless, and both sober and restless. All their characteristics can be further classified in three divisions. Some of these heroines are very talkative, some are mild, and some are equipoised. Each heroine, according to her own character, increases Sri Krishna's loving ecstasy. Although some of the gopis are talkative, some mild, and some equipoised, all of them are transcendental and faultless. They please Krishna by their unique characteristics. This is the point. So many varieties for the sake of giving Krishna pleasure in different ways. It is her-like similar, but it is what we are experiencing in this world, but that it is not same. That is totally different. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt unlimited happiness upon hearing these descriptions, and he again and again requested Swarup Damodar to continue speaking. Damodar Goswami said, Krishna is the master of all transcendental mellows and the taster of all transcendental mellows, and his body is composed of transcendental bliss. Krishna is full of ecstatic love and always subordinate to the love of his devotees. The gopis are very much experienced in pure love and in the dealings of transcendental mellows. There is no flaw or adulteration in the love of the gopis. Therefore, they give Krishna the highest pleasure. There is no any selfishness in them. Then, this is from Bhagavatam. We have to be careful. Lord Shri Krishna, who is the absolute truth, enjoyed his rasa dance every night during the autumn season. He performed this dance in the moonlight and with full transcendental mellows. He used poetic words and surrounded himself with women, means gopis, who were very much attracted to him. And then there is further description. The gopis can be divided into a left wing and a right wing. Both wings induce Krishna to taste transcendental mellows by various manifestations of ecstatic love. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the chief. She is a jewel of mine of ecstatic love and the source of all purified, transcendental, conjugal mellows. Radharani is grown up and her character is equipoised. She is always deeply absorbed in ecstatic love and always feeling in the mood of a left-wing gopi. Because she is a left-wing gopi, her womanly anger is always awakening, but Krishna derives transcendental bliss from her activities. The progress of loving affairs between a young boy and a young girl is by nature crooked. Here it is transcendental, like the movement of a snake. Because of this, two types of anger arise between a young boy and girl: anger with a cause and anger without a cause. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these talks, his ocean of transcendental bliss increased. He therefore told Sarup Damodar, "Go on speaking, go on speaking." And thus Sarup Damodar continued. Srimati Radharani's love is a highly advanced ecstasy. All her dealings are completely pure and devoid of material tinge. Indeed, her dealings are 10 times purer than gold. Means it is transcendental. As soon as Radharani gets a chance to see Krishna, her body is suddenly decorated with various ecstatic ornaments. The transcendental ornaments of Srimati Radharani's body include the 8 sattikas, or transcendental symptoms, the 33 vyabhichari bhavas, beginning with harsha or jubilation in natural love, and the 20 bhavas or ecstatic emotional ornaments. Now here there are some further descriptions. Of Radharani's ecstatical symptoms and pastimes, but I will not read everything. Because it is long topic, and also this Hera Panchami Lila has to be concluded also. So some very intimate transcendental descriptions are here to make a comparison between what Lakshmi, what is her pastime, and what is Radharani's pastime with the gopis. So it is not at all possible to describe the unlimited pastimes of Sri Krishna, even though he himself describes them in his avatar of Sahasrabhadan, the 1000-mouthed Sheshnag. Then, at this time, so much description of the gopis and Radharani. At this time, Srivas Thakur smiled and told Sarup Damodar, "My dear sir, please hear. Just see how opulent my goddess of fortune is. As far as Vrindavan's opulence is concerned, it consists of a few flowers and twigs, some minerals from the hills, a few peacock feathers, and the plant known as Gunja." When Jagannath decided to see Vrindavan, he went there, and upon hearing this, the goddess of fortune experienced restlessness and jealousy. She wondered, why did Lord Jagannath give up so much opulence and go to Vrindavan? To make him a laughing stock, the goddess of fortune made arrangement for much decoration. Then the maidservants of the goddess of fortune said to the servants of Lord Jagannath, "Why did your Lord Jagannath abandon the great opulence of the goddess of fortune, and for the sake of a few leaves, fruits, and flowers, go to see the flower garden of Srimati Radharani? Your master is so expert at everything, but why does he do so much? No, why does he do such things? Now bring your master before the goddess of fortune." In this way, all the maidservants of the goddess of fortune arrested the servants of Jagannath, bound them around the waist, and brought them before the goddess of fortune. When all the maidservants brought Lord Jagannath's servants before the lotus feet of the goddess of fortune, the Lord's servants were fined and forced to submit. All the maidservants began to beat the Ratha car with sticks, and they treated the servants of Lord Jagannath almost like thieves. Finally, all of Lord Jagannath's servants submitted to the goddess of fortune with folded hands, assuring her that they would bring Lord Jagannath before her the very next day. Being thus pacified, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. "Just see, my goddess of fortune is opulent beyond all description," Srivas Thakur said, in order to bring out what will come next. Srivas Thakur continued to address Swarup Damodar. "Your gopis are engaged in boiling milk and churning it into yogurt, but my mistress, the goddess of fortune, sits on a throne made of jewels and gems." Srivas Thakur, who was enjoying the mood of Narada Muni, because he is also Narada Muni in Krishna Lila, thus made jokes. Hearing him, all the personal servants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to smile. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told Srivas Thakur, "My dear Srivas, your nature is exactly like that of Narad Muni. The Supreme Personality of Godhead's opulence is having a direct influence upon you. Swarup Damodar is a pure devotee of Vrindavan. He does not even know what opulence is, for he is simply absorbed in pure devotional service. Iho Damodar Swarup Shuddha Brajavasi, pure Brajavasi. Aishwarja na jane iho Shuddha Preme Bhasi." He does not know that Godhood, opulence, and all this. Only sees Krishna in their intimate, delightful relation they are seeing as a friend or as a son or beloved, like this. But they don't know and think he's God. That is pure prema. Swarup Damodar then retorted, "My dear Srivas, please hear me with attention. You have forgotten the transcendental opulence of Vrindavan. The natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwaraka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop. Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full of all opulences, and his complete opulences are exhibited only in Vrindavan Dham, means all the rasas. In Vaikuntha, that is transcendental realm. Gurudev told, this material world, there are waves of suffering, because enjoyment and reaction, and there are waves. Then Buddhists, they will give up this enjoying spirit, and they will merge into Biraja river, which is between spiritual and material, where it is in equilibrium. No creation is going on, but still it is material, but there are no waves of suffering, because not this attachment and enjoying. So they come up to that platform. But further up is Brahma Jyoti or Brahma Dham, where there is bliss, Ananda, transcendental bliss, eternal bliss, but there are no waves of bliss, because there is no lila there, no pastimes. Then further up is Vaikuntha. There are pastimes with Narayan, and that is far superior to this Brahma Jyoti. These four Kumaras, they gave up Brahmananda to get the service of Narayan. And then above Vaikuntha is first is Dwaraka and Mathura, because in Vaikuntha only 2.5 rasas are there, a relationship with God. There is no Vatsalya rasa, no parental affection, but it is there in Dwaraka and Mathura, and highest is Vrindavan. So according to this type of opulence, in regard to the rasa, Vrindavan is topmost. Outwardly we may see gold and all these things. That is like more opulent in Vaikuntha, and outwardly Vrindavan seems like simple. But in spiritual gradation, according to rasa, that is superior in Vrindavan. Vrindavan Dham is made of transcendental touchstone. Its entire surface is the source of all valuable jewels, and the Chintamani stone is used to decorate the lotus feet of the maidservants of Vrindavan. Chintamani stone means whatever you will think, Chinta, that stone will fulfill your desire. But they have only desire to serve Krishna. There. Vrindavan is a natural forest of desire trees and creepers. These trees also, they are fulfilling desires. Kalpa Vriksha. And the inhabitants do not want anything but the fruits and flowers of those desired trees to offer to Krishna. In Vrindavan, there are cows that fulfill all desires, cows also, Kamadhenus, and their number is unlimited. They graze from forest to forest and deliver only milk. The people want nothing else. In Vrindavan, the natural speech of the people sounds like music or like singing, and their natural motion resembles a dance. The water in Vrindavan is nectar, and the Brahma Jyoti effulgence, which is full of transcendental bliss, is directly perceived there in its forum. The gopis there are also goddesses of fortune, and they surpass the goddess of fortune who abides in Vaikuntha. In Vrindavan, Lord Krishna is always playing his transcendental flute, which is his dear companion. So then this quote is coming from Brahma Sanhita, Shriya Kantah Kantah Parama Purusha, this one. The damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis, are super goddesses of fortune. The enjoyer in Vrindavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The trees there are all wish-fulfilling trees, and the land is made of transcendental touchstone. The water is all nectar, the talking is singing, the walking is dancing, and the constant companion of Krishna is his flute. The effulgence of transcendental bliss is experienced everywhere. Therefore, Vrindavan Dham is the only relishable abode. And from Bilva Mangal Thakur, also one quotation, the anklets on the damsels of Brajabhumi are made of Chintamani stone. The trees are wish-fulfilling trees, and they produce flowers with which the gopis decorate themselves. There are also wish-fulfilling cows, which deliver unlimited quantities of milk. These cows constitute the wealth of Vrindavan. Thus, Vrindavan's opulence is blissfully exhibited. About Bilva Mangal Thakur, he is the author of this verse you have heard. He was a Brahmin in South India, a good Brahmin, but he was attracted by one prostitute. And there was one river, he was on one side, western side, she was on eastern side. So daily he used to go to her prostitute to enjoy. And on the day when you have to do Shraddh ceremony, that for deceased ancestors you have to offer that pinda or prasad for their sake once in a year. On that day, it is prohibited to cross the river. So it was on that day. And also there was a big storm on that day. And there were no boats. No one was carrying across the river. But he was so attached to that prostitute that anyway he went, he was swimming, and he saw one like log of wood and took shelter of that and somehow crossed that river. He thought, oh, Chintamani, her name was Chintamani, that prostitute. Chintamani is so merciful, she sent this log of wood. Then when he came across, then all the gates and everything was closed, so there was a wall, and how to cross. Then he saw one rope, and he thought, oh, Chintamani is sending this for me. Then he, by that rope, he crossed. Then he knocked and she opened, and she was surprised. How you came? Today is this Shraddh ceremony day, you should not cross the river, and there are no boats. Then he said, you send me that log of wood, and you put this rope here on the wall. This is how I came. Then she understood by smelling the smell coming from his body, and there were some worms. She understood that that was not a log of wood. It was one dead body going down the river. But he was so bewildered that he did not even notice this. And that rope was actually a snake coming through the one hole, that, and like a big snake. But he was so bewildered he could not notice, and he thought she's sending all this. And in such bad weather and everything, then she told him, this my body is made of blood and flesh and urine and stool and all these things. And you are so much attached to this, so much eager. If you would be so much eager to and give so much effort to attain Krishna, surely your life would become successful. Then this opened his eyes. He came to his senses. He said, yes, you are right. And he bowed down to her for opening his eyes. Then he went towards Vrindavan to go to serve Krishna. And on the way, because we have many samskaras, those are impressions in our subconscious and all that, these tendencies to enjoy. Sanskaras and karma and everything is there. So it is not so easy to clear everything. Sometimes we think, now I'm okay. Like if someone is at home, he thinks I'm okay. But if he passes some sweet shop, if he's addicted to sweets, then immediately he will want to enjoy. So like that, sometimes we feel we are fine, but when some opportunity comes or some karma comes or something, then we are pulled so much. We cannot resist. These are sanskaras. So it is not so easy to clear everything in all of a sudden, in short time. It needs sadhana. So he saw one beautiful lady there carrying water on her head. And he became attracted and he went after her. And he felt, oh, again I am attracted. It was not willingly, but because of his samskaras in her. It automatically happened from within. Then he became, again, he remembered everything and he was received by the husband of that wife she was carrying. And because he was like a sadhu, like wandering sadhu, they asked him how we can serve you, what we can do for you. Then he said, yes, I need one thing. I need those hairpins of your wife, those long like needles, they're keeping the hair. I need them. So she gave and he pierced his eyes out. Due to these eyes, I'm attracted to this. So, but we should not imitate this. We have to engage all our senses under the guidance of Guru to serve Krishna. This was some special to give us teaching. Then he was crying and he was going towards Vrindavan. And because he was sincere, then Krishna came and he held him by the hand and he was leading him towards Vrindavan. And sometimes he left his hand also, then to increase his devotion. Then Bilva Mangal Thakur said, maybe you can give up my hand, but you cannot go out from my heart. That is impossible. And then again Krishna would take his hand like this. So he became a pure devotee after being very much in lust due to those sanskaras, but he became pure devotee and he wrote all this by his own. He got transcendental divine eyes by which one can see transcendental reality. We cannot see with these material eyes. Only through the eyes of devotion, spiritual eyes, the eyes of the soul, we can see. So he described all these things, Vrindavan. He saw everything. So we sing that song during Kartik. Bishoye je priti ebe achoye amar, sei mata priti hope charane tomar. How much I have now this desire to enjoy these worldly objects, let me have that much desire to serve you, Krishna. Such love I want for you. So Srivas Thakur then began to dance in ecstatic love. After he heard Sarup Damodar speaking about opulence of Vrindavan, means transcendental opulence, he vibrated sounds by slapping his armpits with the palms of his hands, and he laughed very loudly. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard these discussions about the pure transcendental mellow Srimati Radharani. Absorbed in transcendental ecstasy, the Lord began to dance. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstatic love and Swarup Damodar was singing, the Lord said, "Go on singing, go on singing." The Lord then extended his own ears. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love was awakened by hearing the songs of Vrindavan. In this way, he inundated Purushottam Jagannath Puri with love of God. Finally, the goddess of fortune returned to her apartment. In due course of time, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, afternoon arrived. After much singing, all four Sankirtan parties grew fatigued, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love increased twofold. While dancing, absorbed in Srimati Radharani's ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in her very form. Seeing this from a distant place, Nityananda Prabhu offered prayers. He was so absorbed, Mahaprabhu, in Radha Bhav, mood of Radharani, that even his external form became just like Radharani. So seeing this mood, Nityananda Prabhu, who is Baladev, kept distance and was offering prayers from there, because otherwise some difficulty in rasa comes, because his elder brother. So when Radharani sees Krishna is with Baladev, she is not going there. And when Baladev sees that Radharani is with Krishna, he also doesn't go there, because his elder brother and some Vatsalya Bhav is there, because no, this is rain on my window here, on top. This is the sound. That is flower rains. That is blessing from above. So Nanda Jashoda, they said to Baladev, you have to take care of your younger brother. So there is some Vatsalya Bhav. So Vatsalya and Madhur Jalila, they cannot happen at the same time. So that is why, because Nityananda Prabhu is Baladev, seeing Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani, he kept distance. That is why in Gauriya Mat on altars, you will never see Nityananda Prabhu there beside Mahaprabhu and Radha Krishna. It can be separately, Gaur Nityananda separately and Radha Krishna separately, but cannot be together because of this point. It is there, Guru, Gauranga and Radha Krishna. Gauranga is Radha Krishna, that is okay, and Guru is there. But if you want to keep Nityananda, then you have to keep separately. And Bhog will be separate and everything. Seeing the ecstatic love of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu did not approach, but remained a little distance away. Only Nityananda Prabhu could catch Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but the ecstatic mood of the Lord would not stop. At the same time, Kirtan could not be continued because all were tired so much. So Nityananda could not go near, and Kirtan cannot go. So what to do? Then Swarup Damodar, his Lalita Saki, then informed the Lord that all the devotees were fatigued. Seeing this situation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to his external senses. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then entered the flower garden with all his devotees. After resting there for some time, he took his afternoon bath. Then there arrived in large quantities a variety of food that had been offered to Sri Jagannath and a variety that had been offered to the goddess of fortune. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finished his afternoon lunch, and after his evening bath, he went to see Lord Jagannath. So this is the pastime of Lakshmi Bijay, or the victory of Lakshmi, or Hera Panchami Tithi. She is doing her own service in her own mood. There is no fault in her mood. All moods of all devotees, they are faultless. Everyone is serving Krishna there in transcendental realm according to their mood, and there are different transcendental realms, Vaikuntha, Mathura, Ayodhya, and so unlimited. So different kinds of devotees. So this is her mood she exhibited. It is for the satisfaction of Jagannath. And the gopis, they are having different type of service mood to Krishna. They are also satisfying. So there is unlimited varieties of service to Krishna. So this is one. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seeing, and also finally he also came in the mood of Radharani by hearing the Vrindavan pastimes. And then they took bath and prasad, and in the evening again they took darshan. So tomorrow we will continue with Bhagavad Gita.